Hi, welcome back to our channel and welcome back to the timing and spacing series tutorial. So this is episode 2. So in the previous episode, we discussed about how to set the timing and how to plan the spacing. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use the plan to do the in-betweens. And before we begin with the tutorial, I would just like to mention our memberships. So now you could join our channel. So this is different from subscribing. So to become a member, you need to pay a monthly fee, and in return, you'll get benefits. So what are the benefits? So the main benefit would be the members only lessons. So the difference between members only lessons and tutorials, in the tutorials, I normally give like a big overview and I just breeze through the concepts, but in the members only lessons, I go deep into the topics. We discuss further the animation principles, and I would thoroughly discuss from one concept to the next. So the lessons are more well designed. They are designed in a way that the complexity is progressing from simple to complex. And this is to ensure that you really understood the concept before we proceed. And there will be assignments and drills for you to do, and we can give feedback on your output. So if you are interested in this kind of learning, then click the join button below or click the link in the description to join our channel. Also, the project files of this tutorial will be available to our members to download. So that's it. Let's get back to the tutorial and let's begin. So now we are going to do the in-betweens. So I'm going to animate in this layer. I'm just going to press B for the classic brush tool, and I'm just going to reveal some of the layers and maybe rename them so that's more organized. This is the timing or the spacing plan, right? So I'm just gonna double click this and rename this as or I'll just rename this as easing plan. And this notes, I'm just gonna rename this as notes. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to copy this and create a new layer because I just like to keep some backup. So I'm just gonna hide both of these, and I'm just gonna like make these as guide layers. And this one is I'm gonna rename this as easing plan 2. But that's just my backup because I'm going to scale or adjust the position of this and scale this down, right? And I'm gonna zoom in a bit, and I'm going to like change the color of this to green because we're gonna like keep this on, and I'm gonna mark those frames here that are already done. So the start is already done, so I'm gonna like select a much darker green. So this one's already done, and the anticipation is already done. The breakdown is already done. The action is done. The breakdown 2, the recoil, and the settle. So that we'll know like what in between exactly are we doing, right? So let's do this first. This one is the half of the start and the anticipation. So I'm just gonna zoom out a bit, and I'm just gonna adjust like the timeline. This one is the scaling for the timeline, so I'm going to zoom out a bit so that we could like see a lot more frames. I think this one's I'm gonna zoom in a bit. So this is what I'm going to do. Okay, so I think I'm lacking a bit frames, but we're just going to click F5 if we like lack frames. So we are animating on 2s, right? So I've skipped a frame, click here, then press F7. I'm gonna turn on the onion skin, and I'm gonna change this back again to red. Or I'm just gonna swap and change this to dark green so that if I'm going to check the one on our plan, I'm just gonna like swap right? So this is my drawing color, or at least my sketch color. This is my like marker for the plan, right? So I'm just gonna bring the easing plan to near here, right? So it's like easy to click, and I'm just gonna lock this for now. Press B and then swap, and then now we're gonna like do this half. So I'm gonna press F4 so that it's like full screen, and the half of this, right? So the head is probably like here, right? So I'm going to do that. So I'm just gonna trace this one. So I need to like find the in between of this pose and this pose for the head. So I'm just like going to adjust this again, bring it down a bit further down, and something like this. And then I'm going to like bring this at the center. So again, this is what we are trying to do, the half. And now try to determine the like the body. What's the half of this? Also, if you are like a bit confused with the onion skin, it's always good to go back and forth between frames. You can, I'm just gonna press F4 so we could see the timeline. You can click the comma on your keyboard and the period to go back and forth between the frames, just to like confirm its actual look. And you could also like turn this off and check, and then turn this on again. So, you know, just giving you some tips. So, so I'm done with this one now. This one's already done. So this one is the like half of this frame and this frame. So as you can see, it's half in terms of location. It's half in terms of action. So let me turn off like the onion skin and, you know, just cycle through, right? So it's half, right? So next we're gonna do is this one. And this one is the half of this and this. Okay, so I'm gonna turn on the onion skin again. So now I'm going to, we need an in between. So I'm gonna press F7. But we are like lacking frames, right? Because we are animating on twos. This one is already like on ones. It only has like one frame. So I'm gonna click F5 to adjust, right? So this is where we are at now, and this is the half of this, right? Because we are like easing into the anticipation pose. So the other thing that I like do, right, for if you want to really be exact with like the head, like for example, the head is, you know, it's hard to like find the half, the position is easy to locate, but the action, right? Because the head is right here and the other head is right here, and you are like in terms of position, you know, it's right here, right? But in terms of action, it's like hard to find the half. So what I do is I'm gonna copy this and create a new layer, and this would be like my my sketch book or something, like a scratch paper, and I'm just gonna paste it here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to bring it closer here so that it's easy to in between. Lock this and then turn on the outline mode, and then now I'm just gonna press F4 on my keyboard, and then now it's easier to like find like the half of the action, right? The half of the position is easy enough, but the half of the action is a bit hard. So now with this, it's like a bit easier. So once I'm done with like the head, now I'm gonna like select everything and then like put this to the half of the like position in terms of position. Now I'm gonna press F4. I don't really need this like guide, so I'm just gonna hide this, but I'm not gonna delete this layer because we're gonna use this as some sort of like scratch paper in terms of like we want to like have like a guide. So for example, this one, the hand, I could easily like get the position, but in terms of like the form, it's a bit hard, right? So this is where this one would come in, right? And I could like use this and the previous frame as some sort of like my anchor, and I'm just gonna match it like that. And now it's like I could see or like have some sort of like a temporary like onion skin to move. The problem with the onion skin is I can't move it around, right? So that's the use of this scratch paper layer. And once I've drawn this, now I could like put this on the correct position, correct rotation. And again, we don't need the scratch paper. I'm just gonna hide that. So now we are done with this frame, right? We still have like one more in between, and you can also like check this, right? You can press like enter to preview. So I'm just gonna hide the plan for now. So now let's continue. And before I begin, I'm just gonna rename this as maybe just scratch paper. So we still need like one more frame here, right? And we already don't have enough frames, so I'm just gonna press F5 twice. We have like space, and then press F7. Okay, now I'm gonna press B again on my keyboard, and we are like, this is what we're gonna do. So this one is the half of this and this frame, right? So by doing like half, 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 you are already animating like the ease in. It's like it's slowing down, right? Because if you've got this, so I'm just gonna make some like pseudo timing, right? If you're gonna create like the half of this, so it's gonna be here, and then half of this, it's gonna be here, the half of this, it's gonna be here. So what happens is the spacing is getting smaller and smaller, and that's what we want. But the problem with like just doing like exactly half is that at the end is you have like equal spacing, right? So what I'm gonna do in this like last frame, like the last like in between here for like this segment, is I'm going to favor it on this side. So it's not going to be exact. It's not going to be exact. It's just going to like favor on this. So it's going to be closer to this one now. So I'm going to delete now the scratch paper, this one, because this is not what we need. So I'm just going to copy this again. So I have like a temporary file, and then bring it here, and then turn on the outline mode, and then lock. And now let's draw the in-between. But as I draw the in-between, remember that my plan is to favor it on the next frame. And again, so this is like we already done like the shape. We created the in-between for the shape. Now let's bring this to the correct position. And again, I want it to favor on this frame, so it's not going to be half. It's going to favor slightly here. So we have done this frame, and let's have a look. I'm gonna hide this for now. So now let's bring the easing plan again. So now we have like finished so take a look here. The start, that's this frame. This in between is this one, this, and and so on. The anticipation is this, and we have like a breakdown here. And our original plan was there's gonna be like 2. I think that's too much, but let's try. We could always like just delete. So let's do this first, because this one is like the half of this and this, and this one is the half of this and this, or at least maybe we're gonna favor it on this side. So now we have finished this. This one is next. So we are currently on this frame. So we need, so I'm just going to turn off the like onion skin. And I think I need to adjust like the head a bit, because I think the pose now is a bit wrong. Yeah, something like that. And now we need to have an in-between between this one and this one. So we lack frames. I'm just gonna press F5 again, and then here press F7, and then we're going to turn on the onion skin and adjust the onion skin. Okay, now we're going to do the half, but this time we are going to favor it on the frame before, just so that we'll have that like more easing out. So now we have finished this frame. So this one, we finished that in between. So now let's have a look at our overall animation. So I think it's a bit slow. The easing is correct, but it's a bit slow. But let's just continue on with this. So we'll just like delete frames later, or another option is to combine on2s with on1s, so we have that quick movement. So we could just bring this closer together. So as I've mentioned before, we could always like adjust the timing later on. So yeah, so for now I'm just gonna like undo this, bring this back to on2s again, and let's continue on with our plan. So next is we're gonna do this one. So we're gonna do this one first, because this one is the half of this and this, and then this next, which is the half of this, right? So by using the halves method, we could like make the in-betweens much easier. So this one first. Okay, so I'm gonna press F7. So for this one, I think I want to favor like the arm here a bit, so that we're going to have that snap, right? Because if it's going to be like exactly half, we're gonna lose like the snappiness of like the jump, right? So I want it to be a bit abrupt. So I'm just gonna favor like the arm here. So I'm already done with the in-between. Now let's place this on like the right position, and I think it's gonna be here. And let's have a look. Let's hide this. I think it lacks a bit of the like snappiness. So let me like adjust this, and I'm not going to follow anymore like the in-between. I want to somehow like make this a bit stretched out, making this like closer together, and this one instead of something like that. Or I don't really need to delete, but I could just reposition this, right? So you'll have like things like straight, because it's like it's dragging towards the previous pose. And let's have a look. Yeah, I think that's much better. Also, overall, I think it's a bit slow, as I mentioned earlier, but we'll just delete frames or adjust the timing to make it more fast. But overall, I think it's really good. So let's continue. Now I'm going to like turn on again the plan. This is now the plan, and we've finished this. That's already done. Now we are going to do this one, right? So again, upon like doing like a few frames, I think this is already much. I mean, we have like too much frames, and it's going to be like slow. But let's just continue on with this. So I already finished the in between like posts. Now I'm going to put this on like the right position, and also take note of the arc. Right, when it's going to jump, it's not going to be in a straight line, so just imagine there's going to be an arc, and I'm going to favor this one. I mean, in terms of position, favor it somewhere here, so you could really have that like hang time like feel once the character is in the air. Now I'm just gonna move the easing plan somewhere here, and we've already like finished this one too, right? So we still have like 1, 2, 3. So we're gonna do the like half of this and this, and once we've done that, the half of this and this, then the half of this and this, and so on, right? So this is what we're gonna work on now, and so let's do that, right? I'm gonna like hide this for now. So it's gonna be, so we need like the in between of this, the half of them, right? So I'm gonna add like a frame here, and I'm just gonna time lapse this again. Again, I'm gonna bring this to the like right position somewhere around here. Again, I'm thinking of the arc, and if it's helpful, you could like adjust the onion skin to see like if you have the correct direction. And let's bring out like the easing plan. And so we have this done. And let's have a look again. So I always like check my animation and if it's like working. And you know, if this isn't a demonstration, I would already would have like made the adjustments. But since this is a demonstration, I would like to like go through with the plan and just adjust later. But if this is a client project and I could already see like my mistake in the planning, I would already have like adjusted it like now. So next we are going to do this frame, which is the half of this and this, right? So we're gonna do the half of this, right? So I'm gonna like press F5 and add an in between these two frames. So I'm going to time lapse this again. So now I'm going to favor this towards the like next frame. So this one's done. And let's take a look at our like easing plan. And we have finished this one. And we still have like one more frame that we didn't do from the breakdown to the action, right? So we need the in between again for this. So we are now on this frame. So let me add a frame. So I think we might really, if we want to use this number of frames, I mean, we can, because it's gonna be we can't really let go of what we've already made, right? We want to like make use of everything. I mean, we could still do this, but there's now going to be like a part where it's going to be like on once, right? So that the timing is still going to be correct. But I do feel that this one's already slow, too slow for like animating on twos. Now it's done. Let's adjust like the position. I think I also have like the position wrong, so we could just like adjust this like now. But let's have a look at the like animation. So I think the arc, if you look at the arc, I think we could really like adjust this. I think it starts with this one. I need to bring it to somewhere here. Yeah, so far I think it's good, right? Aside from the uh, notion that it's a bit slow, I think it's really smooth, and the action really like reads well. So now let's continue on with the plan. So for I'm going to do this segment first. I'm going to like do from action to breakdown, and then after breakdown to recoil, and then recoil to settle, right? So I'm gonna use like the half first, right? So I'm gonna like do this first because that's like the easiest one to do. And once we finish this, now we could do this one because this one is based off of this and this, right? And then work ourselves like backwards like that, right? So here, I'm gonna press F7. I'm gonna adjust the onion skin and just hide the easing plan for now. And again, I'm going to time lapse this. So now we have finished this one, and just so that we could like make this video a bit shorter because I think it's already like too long, I'm just going to time lapse this until we finished everything because basically the explanation is just the same. I'm just going to explain a bit because I made an error, and this is a very crucial like error, and you might be like confused with where you're doing the in-betweens, right? So currently, what I'm doing is I did the half of this instead of doing this frame, right? So this is like my error. I made an in-between of this frame and the breakdown, which is this one. And, you know, that's not correct. The correct one should be, let me just adjust this. It should be like, move this forward, and I need to create the in-between here, this one, this frame, right? So just be careful with like when you're doing in-betweens, just make sure like you are on the right place, right? It's because this one, for example, and if I didn't spot that, I would have like added this is what I did earlier. And if I just like continued on, I might like have done like this. But that's not what's in our plan, right? It should be like I should have like animated like backwards because this is what I need to be doing, right? So I just need like to mention that. And so now let's continue. So we have finished the in-betweens from start to anticipation, anticipation to action, and action to break down, right? So we still haven't like done like this parts here and this parts here, but let's already like try and fix the timing, right? So whenever like you do animation and it's not like what you had in mind, don't give up. It's not you, right? It's fixable, right? So um your like skill as an animator isn't that you can't make mistakes, right? That on the first try you're not graded that way, right? This isn't like school, but you know the important skill as an animator is that when you commit mistakes, you know how to fix it, right? So that's like basically being an artist, right? So you shouldn't worry about getting it right the first time. What matters is if you do make a mistake, which you'll make a lot, then you should know how to fix it, right? So basically, that's the animation journey. But anyway, let's go back to this one. And what's the problem that I see here? It's a bit slow for my liking, right? But um, I think I already like saw it early on. It's like a lot of frames here, but I'm just gonna right click this and then duplicate layers, right? So that I have a backup, right? So this one's the original one. I'm gonna like hide this for now, right? And we have this. Now, first is let's like bring this closer. So I'm not gonna delete frames. I'm just going to adjust the timing. So I'm gonna turn off the onion skin and figure out, okay, this is the anticipation, right? So let's bring this closer and maybe this one, right? And we are like still on twos. So it's gonna be on twos and on ones, right? On twos and then on ones here. And then this one would still be on ones. This one would be on ones. So I'm just you know, there's no like formula. I'm just trying things out. Um and let me just drag this, or let's like zoom out the timeline a bit, right? So we could see the whole thing. And let's have a look. It's a bit faster now, and I think we could also like adjust like some of the frames here. I think this one, so that this one would have like a snap. I'm gonna favor it here. And this one here, the hang time is just like too slow. So let's bring this like closer. I think starting from here to this one here. Let's make it on ones so that they would be quicker. And then I think here we could now go back to on twos. So you'll see here the comparison between the first and the original, or the original one and the new one. Right now, some of the frames are more compressed, and overall the animation now would end here instead of here, right? So this one is much faster. So this is like one solution. I still do think that the anticipation, this one, I'm just gonna press F5 because I want this to hold like for one frame, to something like that, which I think is already good. Let's compare that one with this one. So now we are like adjusting timing, right? So timing and spacing both go hand in hand. So as we like create the spacing, we are also adjusting the timing. But what I want is I'm gonna duplicate this again. So I'm going to duplicate layers. So now we have like 3 versions, but this one, I want to like remove some of the frames and maybe like make some adjustments. So we need a dispose, but instead of like having 2, I think we could do away with this one. So I'm gonna click this frame and then shift F5 so that we are deleting the frames, and then I'm gonna press F5 because I'm gonna make this like strictly on twos. And from here, I don't think this is like needed anymore, or yeah, this isn't needed. So I'm gonna shift F5. So I'm thinking if I need this or not. Let's just keep this for now. And then this one, Let's bring it here maybe. And this, and where is the action? I think this one is like the action itself, and we just have like too much frames here, which I think we could like do away. So I think this one's important, this one too, but this one we could just like delete this and then this. Yeah, I think we could like keep both of them, but I'm going to adjust. So I'm just gonna like press F5 and this one F5. So that here, I'm just gonna adjust, bring this closer to there now. And let's have a look with our like adjusted. I think it's better. I think this one's better. This one is like my style when I animate, but we could also like adjust the keyframes here. And for this one, because we are like going to like strictly be like on two, so we just need to select between these two, which are, is this the action? I think this one's the action. This one is what I'm going to delete, and then this one is going to be I'm going to press F5. So let's have a look. Yeah, I think it's so much better in terms of timing and spacing. But I'm still like thinking if we could like delete more frames. So I think let's try to do away with this one. No, it feels abrupt without this. So now let me adjust the spacing again. Turn on like the onion skin. I think I'm just gonna bring this like up and a bit closer here. This one I'm gonna bring it down, and this one I'm gonna bring it here closer to the action. And let's have a look. Yeah, I think this one's like good. Now let's like have a bit of like adjustment with our frames. So what I want for the anticipation is, I think it's lacking that like going down. So I'm going to like lasso this one, bring it here, and I'm going to lasso this and then press Q and hold the command key. That's the control key if you're working on a Windows, and this would allow us to free transform, right? And I think I would want the arm, this one, to be a bit here. And so we should also like adjust, right? So something like this maybe. I also like want to like adjust the hand, so I'm just gonna lasso this one, maybe move it around here, and let's like have a look. So if we adjusted this, so now it's like completely destroyed. So let me just like fill it back in again. Again, this is just rough and we're still gonna clean this up. It's okay if it's not that like correct. There are still like a lot of like adjustments, and that's like okay. And I'm thinking if we need to have like the legs like bent a bit, right? But since we adjusted the anticipation post, we do need to adjust also the in-betweens, like for this one. So you could turn on like the onion skin and adjust this to before and after only. And take a look at the hand, the head, and which if you want to favor this. So I want, because we are working with lesser frames, so that we could really feel like the anticipation, I'm going to favor the pose to the anticipation pose, because now we are like working with like a fewer number of frames. So I'm just gonna like lasso some of these and bring them like closer. And I think this one's already good. And let's preview. And this one, I'm thinking let's try and just delete this. And let's see if we could have that abrupt quick jump. So it's not working, so let me bring this back again. So this one's a good in between. But I want this to be favored on the anticipation pose, so that we have like that like snap for the jump, for the breakdown. That's what I'm like looking for. And this arm here, I think that's already okay. And I'm just like going to lasso some of this and just, you know, quick transform. So what I did is just brought this one down. But we have like and I think this one, if we're gonna like look at, I'm going to put a mark. I'm gonna just mark blue. See, it goes back, and then here, look at the like path. So it's not like that smooth anymore. So I'm going to like adjust this now. I'm gonna press Q on my keyboard, hold the command key because it's a free transform, and I'm gonna bring it something like that. And I think that's going to make this like smoother. Yeah, I think that's working. It's good. And for this part here, like I want to add a bit of like drag. So I'm going to like bring the arm, this one, bring it here, and this one too. So this one's the action. I want this to be like a bit more like bent for the so I'm just gonna like lasso like the foot, or maybe just bring like the whole thing, this one, then hold the command key or control key for working on a like Windows computer, and you know, just want this to be a bit more bent like that, or this is already good, or maybe this one is what I want to be more like bent. But the foot has like shrinked, so I'm going to adjust it back, right? But we have that like bent look. And let's have a look. I think, you know, it's this one's like what I'm going for. I want to bring, just looking at this, I would want to like to have a bit of contrast. I want this to be down, something like this, but a bit like bent like that. So I'm already like adjusting, like once we see the animation, we could now like make some like adjustments of like what we think is like better. So let's like preview this, and there's that snap because we haven't like adjusted like the rest of the frame. So let's do that. So now I am checking like the per frame of the foot, if like there's like something wrong with the path, right? And that is like something, if we could like correct like the frames, that like the path would make it like smooth, then that's what I'm like trying to look out for. And now I'm focusing on the leg because that's like where like the snap is going currently. So I think that's like better. And I think now we could proceed with, I'm gonna use now this like updated timing, and let's adjust the plan. And so I'm just like going to time lapse this again. I'm just going to correct like the path for like the knee and like the rest of them. So now we could go back again, and let's take a look at our plan. So this is what I'm gonna use now. So I'm just gonna like turn these two as like backup. I'm gonna right click and then make this just as a guide. And let's go back again to our easing plan. So I'm just gonna bring the easing plan up until here, and again adjust this. Now, I think with this, we don't really like, I think 2 frames would be enough. So I think we're gonna like erase this one, or maybe just 1 frame, I think would already like suffice. 1 frame and then favored on the recoil, but I think 2 would also work. And for here, from recoil to settle, I'm gonna like delete this frame, and I think and this one here. So we're just going to do this 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 more frames. So what I'm going to do, so I'm just again gonna time lapse this. So we have finished the in-betweens. I still do think this still needs adjustment in terms of like the drop. I think we should like um, reduce the frames. I think it's making it like very like slow, but we are already done. So now that we have like finished the whole animation rough wise, it's always like a good idea to check your animation and correct the mistakes if there are like mistakes. So let me just press enter on my keyboard, and I'm just gonna like have a look at the animation. And there are 2 things that I've like noticed here. Is that the first thing is that so I'm just gonna like adjust the onion skin that we could like see like the whole animation. And it seems like we have tightened the spacing here a bit, that it feels like the character is stopping at the air like for 0.1 second, some sort of something like that, right? And the other thing that I noticed is that it feels a bit floaty at the end, like here. It doesn't feel like the speed and like the animation here is matching. So as I've mentioned earlier, I think we have added too much frames right here, making this part here really slow. So we could like delete a portion of the frames here. And here, I don't really feel that this one's slow, only that it feels like it stopped at some point, so we could just adjust the spacing. So we are like adjusting timing and spacing on the fly, right? And those are the like 2 points. The third point that I see is that there's not much like movement on her left leg, this one. If you could see her right leg, there's like too much work, and I think that's it's working with the current action, but the uh, her left leg is like a bit relaxed, just chill, right? And I think we need to change that, and we like have to make them equal. I do like this part here, the like action itself, that the the left leg is much higher than the right leg. I do like that, but to counter or to make them balanced, I think at this point here, we need them to be the opposite. We need now this leg to be much higher than the other leg. So her right leg would be a bit straightened and this one would be a bit bent, just so we'll have a contrast from like this pose to this pose right here. So those are like the three things. So let's decide what we want to like fix first. And I'd like to fix the leg contrast first, the third point. So because I have like a fear of like missing out, so I'm gonna duplicate this, right click and duplicate layers. Why I'm duplicating it that much? So I'm like creating a lot of backups, right? So if I messed up, I could always like go back to my like to the previous working animation. So so this is the layer that I'm going to work on, and let me just adjust this. So I'm gonna bring this a bit higher right here, and this one. So I need the onion skin. I need to, but this is too much. I'm just gonna adjust the onion skin to just before and after. So what I want is this like leg to be a bit straight, something like this. And of course, if we are going to like adjust, because we have like adjusted the like the pose or this in between, of course we have to adjust the other like poses so that it would like match, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna like create a like new layer and bring this like on top, because the onion skin is like distracting for me. But I do need like the parts, right? I do need the parts of what we already created. So I'm gonna like bring them on top. So this is like the action key pose, I think, right? And from here, right? So I'm just gonna lock this so I could like see. This is what we need to like. We're gonna like animate backwards, or not really animate, but adjust backwards. So we're using like the halves method, right? So now we have to look at this, okay? And so I'm just gonna bring this now down and just hide this, right? So we have this empty, so I could see this and like the next, right? So now we could like add or adjust the in between that it matches. So from so I'm just gonna go back. So we need to like notice this and this. So what would be the in between of like them, right? So I'm gonna lasso this and adjust maybe here. And then next the this is now what we're gonna like notice, this part and this part, right? So if I'm gonna turn on the onion skin, let's try and notice those parts. So now if we're gonna like create the in between, like what's the half of them, it's gonna be something like this maybe. And now I'm already like good with this. Let's bring this one down. So, and I'm gonna adjust the onion skin. Now we're going to like adjust this pose so that this it would now match from here to here. So we need to adjust like the legs of this, right? So this one first, right? Now we could like see. So I'm just gonna bring this one down, and this one like next. So something like this one, something like that. And let's have a look at like our animation. So I think it's like better, right? There's now a bit of movement on like the other like leg. Or I think for this one, I would want this to be a bit straightened. So again, we adjusted like the pose. So we need to adjust the in between. So I think that's a bit better. And let me just adjust this this one now. So I'm gonna like turn off like the onion skin. remember we put this one down. So I think I wanna bring this up again. So I'm just like going to like adjust the other like frames. I think that's already okay. And when it goes down, yeah, I think this one's like better. So I think this one's like good in terms of like the leg. Or we could also like try. So I'm going to try. So this one would now boil down to preference, I think. So I want to try, this one's a bit straightened. How about we exaggerate? This one would be something like this, right? Like the leg is like that, right? So why don't we like do that? So I'm going to adjust the in-betweens. Yeah, I think this one's better. I like this one better. Or I think I changed my mind. I think that one's like good. Yeah, so I'm gonna stick with this. So now let's correct or adjust the point that it feels like it's stopping in the air, right? So let's go through this frame by frame. I think we like made the spacing too tight, so we could like adjust that. I'm just gonna adjust this one. And this, right? It's like too tight, so I'm gonna adjust these, but still favoring here, but it's not like too close, because if it's too close, it's like too slow, and it feels like it's like stopping in the air, and we don't like want that. We want it like to flow. And this one here would already like go down, and I think we could also like adjust. So we are now like adjusting the spacing. And let's have a look. So I think the flow of like the movement of the body is already like working for this. So the next that we're going to fix is the floaty. It feels like the character, the animation is a bit like floating at the end. It's too light, right? So let's try. I already have like saved like frames, so I could just like delete this, right? So I think if we try to delete this one, I don't think this is like needed, right? So I'm gonna hold shift then F5 to delete frames, and let's have a feel. I think it's like better deleting like one frame. And I think from the recoil to the settle pose, I think we could delete this one. So I think it feels better. Or I think we could like delete like I think it feels now more abrupt. So let me like undo that. How about this is the one we're like going to delete? And let's have a look. I think that one's like it feels better. And there's something that I would like adjust, because I want this to like go down even further. So I'm just gonna like lasso this part, bring it down here, and the knee, I'm gonna like bring it like a bit forward, something like that. And this one, I'm just going to lasso again, then hold the command key, or that's control key if you're working on Windows, and just free transform. And let's see. So I think that's it feels better. But I think the problem with so I'm just gonna redo that. I think the problem with the previous like animation isn't like in the number of frames, but more of like the spacing. So I'm gonna so this is where the backup comes in. So I'm just gonna copy this, press F7 here, then Command Shift V, and then just hide that one. And now let's just like have a look at the animation. And I think the adjustment by bringing this down, the spacing is now bigger. So I think that's going to make it like have that impact feel better. And also like the arms of this, the spacing of the arms doesn't like um, feel like good. So I'm just gonna like bring like the hand down, which would also mean we have to like adjust the um, the arm of this. And when it's like here at the recoil, so this one, the arm here, we need to adjust and bring it here, because this is where like the previous hand, this is the after, and currently it's here. So I think it would make sense if the hand is here now. Because of the adjustment, let's just make adjustment to the like in betweens. And this one, I think it's too close, so I'm just like experimenting. And I guess you would get this with like if you would ask like what's the uh how do I explain like my thinking process. I think I'm just like trying to get a feel of the animation, if it's like good, if it's too slow. So I'm like adjusting the spacing to adjust the speed. So I think this is like what I want. It feels still a bit like stopping at this point, so maybe I could um, increase the spacing of this, increase the spacing, bring it here, which we would need to like adjust the hands to, but let's just have a look at the position of the body if it works. I think it works. So I'm just gonna adjust this one. So I think I would want this to be like moved a bit forward. And this one here, there's gonna be like a delay. So now I'm going to like adjust. I'm still not that satisfied with this pose. I'm just gonna adjust and like rotate it here, something like this one, something like that. So it's like a bit bent. We have that like force, and I think we need to adjust like the like in betweens as well. And this one would be a bit um, like delayed, something like this. Yeah, I think this one would feel better now. Yeah, I think this one's like uh this one is what I'm going for. I'm just thinking if we really like need this frame. I think if we remove this, the impact would be good. So it's like from breakdown, there's no in between from breakdown to the recoil pose. Let's have a look. And the arm of this, I'm just gonna like delete this again, or just lasso the hand, this one. And it's a bit confusing, so we need to go back and forth to know like where the in between should be. I think somewhere there, and this one too. I'm gonna bring it here. So let's have a look. So I'm gonna bring back I'm gonna bring back the frame again, this one. So I'm gonna copy this. I think this one's all right. Or I think I copied the wrong frame. I think it should be this frame. Yeah, I think I'm sticking with this one. And also, as we do the tie downs later, I may like do some like fixes. So the tie down would be like the last line of defense. That's where I'm going to like add in like last minute changes. But I think for now we could proceed with this like timing. So I've made some corrections of the recording, and this is now the output. And mainly what I have adjusted is the arms, and because there was still something off with the arms, and also when um uh I've added like a little bit of like overshoot for the arms, like here. Like if you're like going to jump forward, the arms would be thrown like a bit forward. So this is like the adjustment I have made. So let's take a look at the original. This one is like our first. See, it's like sticking here. It's not like going forward. So that's what I added here. And also I lessened the arms. I've lessened it that it doesn't like being thrown up in the air like this one, right? It's like wee, something like that, right? So I just lessened it a bit, but there is still some drag to the arms, and so this is now the result. And so next, what we're gonna do is to add in the hair. So this is my hair. Remember the first in the like previous chapters, we've like broken down the hair, right? So I'm just gonna like move forward in time to around here. I'm just gonna press F5 because this is going to be our hair guide, right? Space guide, and just okay. And I'm gonna bring this to near our like rough animation here, and okay, bring. So we are still lacking frames. So I'm gonna click here and press F5. And what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna press F6, right? And adjust this one. So I would like have the I just want to lock in like the position of this, but I'm going to redraw this. Okay, this is just a guide. So I'm just gonna like F6 this here, and no, I'm just gonna do this until the end. And now let's preview this. So it looks like that, right? But it's still a bit stiff. It's not moving around. This is just a guide. So I'm gonna like create a new layer, and okay, I'm just gonna use blue so that we could separate the main animation and the hair. And I'm gonna lock this, the hair guide, and turn on the outline mode. And I'm going to animate straight ahead for this one. So I'm still going to use, I'm going to turn on the outline mode for the character as well. So now I'm going to do the hair, and now I'm just gonna like trace this one, and this is just a guide, right? But I want to like make sure that I draw this correctly, right? I have like 1, 2, 3 curves on the left side, 1, 2, 3 curves to on like the right side. So I just want to like make sure that I have those correctly. So now let's move forward in time, then press F7, and then I'm gonna click F4 again. So now this is like the first curve, and you know the second curves would like be like would drag out like here, like it's gonna go down like something like this. So this would be like the two curves, and then the last one, this circle like here, would something maybe like this, right? So that's going to be like the hair. Now let's move forward in time, then press F7. And again, this is only like the guide for the placement, but I'm gonna base it off of here. And I have to take note of like the structure of the hair. So we have like this one first, right? And I want this now to like squash, or I think, is it like going to squash? Not yet. So I want this to like stretch out a bit, and then move again forward in time, then press F7. Now let's take a look. And here, I want this to be like stretched out, then move forward in time, press F7. Now as it like goes up, this one would be like squashed, a bit, and then move forward in time again. Press F7. Now, I want this to be stretched out, and it's gonna be in a diagonal direction. Then move forward in time, then press F7. Still a bit stretched out, maybe a bit less stretched out. Move forward and then press F7. And then here, I think we could like, the hair now is going to be like squashed. Here, more squashed, and a bit of drag on like this part on this side. Here, more squashed and more dragged out. Now you get the idea of like the drag, right? Because you're basing it off on like the previous like frame, and this would like come naturally, but this would also like take experience as you like animate like more hair like movements. You'd be able like to spot like where and when you would like drag, squash, and stretch on like the hair. So now as the character goes down, this part would be dragged, but the upper part is it's like it's connected to the head, right? So there's not going to be much drag there, but here there will be. So here I don't recommend that. Too much curved, it's not like it's not clear. So let's make it clear so that when we're gonna do the tie downs later, it's much easier. So now we'll have something like the structure would be inverted. The second curve would now be somewhere here, and all right, I'm gonna bring it down here, and this is the third curve. This is now the second curve right here, and this one is like covered, so I think that's going to be fine. But I think I would want this part to be like stretched out because I think I'm losing a bit of the volume. Now let's move forward in time, then press F7. Now this is going to be like stretched. Move forward in time, then press F7. I'm not sure if I want to stretch it here, or would I already like do a squash? I think still stretch, but less stretch than previous frame. And here we could squash. And I'm just gonna like click this one, press Q, and I'm just gonna like free transform. Yeah, something like that. Move again forward in time, then press F7. And we're almost like done. And if you try to look at the frames too, so now we are going to still going to be a bit stretched but less. So now we are like going to make it less and less because it needs to go back to its original form. So this one would a bit stretch out, drag down, and then this one would still be a bit stretched but less stretched. So the way I determine whether to use squash or stretch is based on the movement. So now we are on the final frame, so I'm going to just trace this. So the hair guide is just a guide. So I'm gonna right click this and then click guide. And then I'm gonna hide it, and let's have a look at our animation. And I'm going to turn off the outline mode for our rough animation, and then I'm gonna press enter on my keyboard, and then that's the result. We could still, refine this a bit further, but I think I'm good with this. And let's just rename this as hair animation. So after watching the animation a couple of times, I realized that I want to improve the hair a bit. And there's a bit of error from starting from here to here because it feels like the hair has like increased its volume. It's not like stretching, right? And I want to fix that. So to fix this, I think this one's already good, but what we want to try to maintain is the volume should be the same from start to finish, right? So here, I'm just gonna turn on like the onion skin. I'm gonna press Q on my keyboard. I'm on the hair animation layer. So I'm just going to like scale this a bit so that it's still going to maintain the same like volume. So I think this one's like good. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think it's like better. And there's another thing I want to improve upon, and that's like the hair shouldn't stop the moment the animation stops. I want it to have like a dangling like effect or a bit of a bounce, right? So I'm just gonna like, so this is going to be the final like position, right? So I want to save like this specific pose. Okay, so I'm just gonna move here and then press F6, right? So now I have like two copies of this. And what I want to like add here is I'm just gonna bring the pivot to around here and just maybe like have a little bit of like overshoot or a bit of squash before we reach this point, something like that. We could even like add more frames to make it like more smooth. So let's, I think the bounce is like good. So I'm just gonna like drag this and like add a frame here. And then I'm gonna press F7. And I'm just gonna in between this. Let me adjust, I think this was 2. And I'm just gonna in between this. And I'm going to favor, so that we still have like the easing, I'm going to favor it to the next frame, which is, so I'm just gonna press F4 again. So this is the next frame, okay? So I'm gonna favor this one towards here. And let's have a look. Yeah, I think this one's good. So that's the end of episode 2. In episode 3, we'll cover doing the tie downs, which is basically a cleaner version of the rough animation. And I'll also demonstrate how to do the cleanup and finally the color. Also, if you like my teaching style, you might want to consider joining our channel. In our members only lessons, we focus on the basics. We discuss in detail one concept to the next. There will also be assignments for you to do and drills, and we will also give feedback on your output. If you're interested in this kind of learning, then click the join button below or click the link in the description. So that's it. I hope you learned something today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks, and I hope to see you in the next episode.